done now?
He believed that you were all thoroughly un-American.
Sorry?
For some reason, he felt that it was inappropriate for a senator to have a corrupt wife, for a doctor to take advantage of his patients, for a wife to emasculate her husband, and so forth.
But this is ridiculous. If he was such a patriotic American, why didn't he just report us to the authorities?
He decided to put his information to good use and make a little money out of it. What could be more American than that?
And what was your role in all this?
I was a victim, too. At least my wife was. She had friends who were socialists.
Oh, my God.
Well, we all make mistakes.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Clue the Movie Podcast. We're going into minute 33 of this wonderful film where we break it down 1 minute at a time. My name is Brad Gilmore. I am joined by Jeff Smith. Jeff, minute 33.
Yeah.
We're here. Wadsworth is talking. We're figuring
his wife is
things out.
dead.
His wife that may or may not exist.
Yes,
killed
we
because
discussed
she
last time.
had
We don't know.
Friends, we don't know what's going on, man. There is
now
actually
we know her crime. We know her crime.
we know the crime. And
Not even her crime.
No, her friend's crime.
It's not even actually a crime, but it's a reason.
Yeah, it could be a reason. So, okay, well, let's get into this minute 33. Where this is actually, I guess, we're officially a third into the movie.
Yeah, we're laying pipe, as they say. Exposition.
A lot of exposition here. We're finding out the motivations of Wadsworth. And again, I want to first off salute the game piece characters. They're all doing really well over these last couple minutes of asking important questions.
Yeah.
Professor Plum is like, what is your role in all of this? And I actually, and we obviously, we always talk about how great Tim Curry is just in general, but this one specifically, in these couple of minutes, he is just so masterful with this dialogue and really committing to this character.
It's tragic and hilarious at the same time. They can hear our audio while the clip plays, right?
They can. So they heard you.
They heard us laughing. Even this is the 1,000th time we watch this movie. Just as he's starting to lose it, as he's talking about his poor dead wife. It's sad and hilarious at the exact same time. And it even touches Mrs. White's cold heart.
It does touch her cold heart. And with this, he goes into really Mr. Body's motivation to blackmail everyone. And he says because they're all
Thoroughly.
Thoroughly. He said it very interestingly.
Yeah.
Thoroughly. I can't even do it. Un-American. And they went against American values.
Right.
By,
because it's not by emasculating your husband. That's on the list.
Very,
No
yes.
American would do that.
No American would emasculate their husband. And you know, it's actually a uniquely American thing for a doctor to do things with his female patients. I'm assuming that doesn't happen anywhere else in the world.
I hope
it doesn't happen ever.
That's true. No, it shouldn't happen here. It should happen anywhere.
It should happen anywhere. I don't know if it's
all heroes do not wear capes, ladies and gentlemen. That's where we stand.
That's where we stand on that. And but again, not I'm just saying, as strange as it is, not specifically an American thing, right? It doesn't necessarily. I don't know how you can tie patriotism or nationalities
he means
to that.
More like the morality of what America is. Although you look at Mr. Body, and he doesn't look like a super patriotic kind of guy.
No, he doesn't.
Apparently he is. But then if
he looks like he'd be friends with someone named Scapelli.
Yeah. He's got like the spats. He's literally wearing spats. He's in the 50s, which I don't know if they did it in the 50s.
Scapelli was also a Mario Brothers reference. That's the name of the plumbers in the movie. The evil plumbers are the Scapellis.
We've replaced Back to the Future and Seinfeld references, ladies and gentlemen, with Super Mario Brothers. Can you tell one of us watched the 90s Mario movie recently? It wasn't me.
It wasn't you? It wasn't you?
No.
It's actually a great line when they're talking about King Koopa in the movie, and his two things go, his two like henchmen, one of them goes, if we screw up again, he's going to kill us. And the other guy goes, he's not going to kill us. He's not that nice. I was like, oh, that's a great line. That's a good line. Good line.
Oh.
Good line. But not specifically on American, any of these traits, but you're right, the morality. You know, you think of the Superman, truth, justice, and the American way, you know.
Right. Say your
upstanding
prayers, eat your vitamins.
for the Hulk Hogan variety of people out there.
That's what America is, not the wife of a crooked politician, or he doesn't mention Mr. Green. He really doesn't mention Mr. Green,
Right.
ever. So we never know I'm just going to say our theory is correct. Mr. Green's crime is something we never hear.
No, we never know exactly what it is. But
But
we hear
Wadsworth's wife had friends who were believers in a political or economic theory of social organization, which advocates that the means of production, distribution, and exchange should be owned or regulated by the community as a whole.
Also known as...
That is socialism.
Yes.
Dun, dun, dun.
Now, socialism, especially like at the time of this movie, the 50s, the mid 50s, we're in the height of the Red Scare, which is socialism and communism are closely related in a lot of ways. They're not exactly the same, but they're very close in a lot of ways. And this is probably the antithesis of what it means to be a capitalist American of the day, right?
Sure. It's being fair and looking out for each other, which these guys don't do. Although they come into this house and they have to work together.
But here's my question. I have a couple. But first, when I saw this movie as a kid, no idea what that meant. No clue.
Oh, you are such a dumb kid. You didn't know what socialism was? No, I didn't know either.
Now, did not know what that meant as a child when I watched this movie.
It sounded terrible.
It sounded like the worst thing ever. But I will say...
He cries over it. And they gasp.
They gasp. They do gasp.
Ooh.
They react strongly to it. But I have some questions.
Very strong.
I have some questions. Because we knew earlier we saw some of the McCarthy trials and on the television, right? And the hearings about the Red Scare and who are communists. Obviously, communists are people who are followers of communism.
I can look that up.
Okay, I was trying to slowly get you there.
You were giving me clues.
Hence the name of the podcast.
Well, that is a political theory that's derived from Karl Marx, advocating class war and leading to a society in which all property is publicly owned and each person works and is paid according to their abilities and needs.
Okay, so different. Definitely.
It depends. It's if you don't know much about anything, then it's very easy to mix the two up.
Sure.
But if you're smart and have a phone and you can do a search on two different words, then you'll know they are different political theories.
They are different, but there are some
during that
overlapping.
time where everyone was scared of everybody, socialism sounds bad.
But here's my question. Why not make Wadsworth's wife's friends be communists?
Why not just say communism?
Well, yeah, why not say she had friends who were communists?
Communists. Yeah, that's a very good point. It seems like
because
there was a draft of the script that said socialism and they changed it to communism everywhere in the movie except for that. And they went, just leave it.
Yeah, because they start off the movie with talks of communism, and at the end, I mean, everyone remembers the line in all the endings, communism was a red herring.
Right. But what was socialism?
not really hearing
that
it all.
thing that caused his wife to.
So we think this is BS, right?
Yeah, I still believe we mentioned it at the beginning of the last one, and I even a week later I stand by that. That I think that he is just like you said. He's gathering sympathy, and also he's kind of playing on. He says a scary word that's really not that scary, but he's also I think he knows he's dealing with idiots. So I think that the big reaction is just a scary word, but they really don't know what he's talking about.
Well, I like when Mr. Green says, well, if he was, so patriotic, or whatever the exact quote is, if he's so patriotic, why didn't he report us to the FBI? And then Wadsworth, which this is actually a great line, where he's like, well, essentially, he wanted to profit from your blackmail. What's more American than that?
More American than that. So, in a sense, the Mr. Moral, patriotic American is just as immoral as the rest of them. Mm-hmm. He's a blackmailer. And he's blackmailing, he's a holier than thou blackmailer, because he's totally sitting in judgment on all these people going, you should pay me because I know what you do. And again, to the what we were talking about before, why did he show up at all? That he thought he still had control over this whole situation.
And I know, like, certain parts of this movie, even though it is a quote unquote murder mystery, there has to be a lot of suspension of disbelief in some of the aspects of it, and trying to really connect the dots of the murder itself, and the character motivations and exactly why is everything happening the way it is a little hard to do, because one, they wrote it with 4 endings in mind, 3 of which we saw. So you have to have this movie set up all the plausibility of the endings. So certain things, I think, no matter how hard we tinker with the idea, we'll never really, really know the exact reason for any of it, right? But
or if it means anything, because in some versions it does mean something that just somebody's not in the room, and in some versions they're just, you don't see them.
You just don't see them.
And sometimes they just, this could just be a total MacGuffin on he just needs to have sympathy, or he needs a motive, the Wadsworth character. So we'll give him a dead wife, and it's for political reasons, and we'll breeze right by it, because other than the 4th ending that we never see, his wife is never mentioned again.
Ever.
It becomes motivation for why he is the killer in ending 4. There's a whole spiel he does where he lived his life for perfection, and he tried to be the perfect husband, but his wife killed himself. And that became part of his motivation for murder, which is weird. One of the reasons probably why we don't see the 4th ending. But yeah, it's just like it's a little scene. And even in the next minute, you'll hear he starts to already, he just breezes past it. Like, we all make mistakes. Moving on.
But like, I guess my question is, in 85, so okay, because again, I wasn't born in 85, so you have to bear with me, Jeff. But we're in the middle of
so much when I was in 1980. Yes.
But we're in the middle of the Reagan era. I'm just trying to think of the socio-political stories of the day. We're in the middle of the Reagan era, so this is still during the Cold War, where Russia's on people's minds.
Scary.
Communism's still out there. World
War III. We were all going to shoot nuclear bombs at each other. Yeah.
Right. And so I'm just wondering, does the socialism line, does it land well in 1985? And let me ask you this, because you've recently seen this movie a lot in front of crowds. Does the socialism line land?
It's a laugh.
Is it a laugh, or is it a chuckle? Is it a giggle?
It's a laugh. It's a laugh at first that he builds it up like it's this huge thing, and it's what he says because he takes that pause. She had friends who were socialists. That kind of gets a chuckle, and then the reactions of everybody thinking like she had, as if he said she had friends who killed puppies and ate them. Yeah, that would be a gasp. But he says socialism. And then the laugh comes again with "we all make mistakes," because now he's sobbing over it. And if anything, I think it might just be a commentary on people not understanding scary words or words that sound scary. That's my guess.
Like, because
I know Jonathan Lynn, just from his Twitter, is a fairly liberal guy. I don't know to what extent, but I doubt he thinks socialism is scary.
right, yeah, for sure. I'm just trying to think: would the 85 audience be really like, "Oh my God, socialism? That's so
Like take
funny."
it seriously? Like think, oh, it is would they take it
No.
as a joke, or would they take it as that makes sense. That's the reason.
Not so much, yeah. I think they would take it as a joke, not so much taking it seriously, but I just wonder because I guess during the most recent years, and this isn't like getting political or anything, but like, I think most people would assign socialism with like Senator Bernie Sanders.
Sure. Democratic socialism.
Democratic socialism is his philosophy. And when I hear socialism, it's hard for me not to see Bernie Sanders like in my head.
I know. I thought of him too.
Right? Like it's the first thing you think about now when you hear it.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to think.
I thought about the minimum wage.
$15.
Amazon.com is making this much money.
No one cares.
Employees have to urinate in a Gatorade bottle.
No one cares about your damn emails. All right.
Yeah.
Capitalism.
Bum, bum, bum,
Didn't him and Larry David turn out to be cousins or something?
They're related, yeah.
How funny is that? How funny is that?
We brought it back to Seinfeld, suckers.
But I will say, as far as the socialism line in the room at the time, you're going to love this. I believe out of the most gasp reactions, we get the biggest reaction from the socialism line in the room at the moment. And ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to our new segment on this show, because are we sick of Back to the Future references? Well, hold on to your butts. That was a Jurassic Park reference, because that reaction is our Great Scott moment of the week. Can I get a Great Scott?
Great Scott!
Wow.
That was me asking Christopher Lloyd if he could say Great Scott for me during our interview.
You know what? I have something similar. My moment is, Christopher Lloyd, do you want to be in the Clue documentary? Long pause. No. We'll do it without you.
I'll do it without you. This is our Great Scott moment of the week. The reaction.
Is it Mrs. Peacock's reaction?
It's mainly
definitely
Peacock.
has the big one. Yeah.
It's mainly
The politician's
Peacock.
wife.
Yes. It is hilarious. Eileen Brennan's reaction to this.
I think
line.
she even clutches her chest.
There's there's definitely a pearl clutching going on.
Yeah,
Let me see
for
if I can
sure.
pull it up actually here.
You're gonna hear it, folks. The gasp.
Let's see. I want to get back to.
But this is ridiculous. If he was such a
Hold on. Oh, no, that's the next scene. Sorry, trying to pull it up here.
She had friends who were
Nice.
socialists.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Although Mustard.
Mustard had a
oh
good
my
one
God.
too.
But look at Miss Scarlet. Miss Scarlet looks at her like, give me a break.
Oh, whatever. This is what she
Actually, this is good. People, go get your copy of Clue and watch this, because you can watch everybody. Yvette looks confused.
like what socialism?
Yeah. And look at Lee Ving as Mr. Body chilling on the ground there with his feet like in a V. He's having a good time.
That is definitely
Mrs. White's in the back by the door.
not a big.
She's got to get ready to get her handkerchief. I don't think Colonel Mustard knows what socialism is. Does he look at Peacock first?
Let's go and let's watch this one. And no,
This
so
is the play-by-play.
okay. When he says it,
Yeah.
there's a confused look on Colonel Mustard's face. This is immediately after the socialism. As soon as we see the 5 characters in frame, or 6, I guess technically, he's got a confused look. Mrs. Scarlet doesn't really look all that.
She's
bothered.
looking like,
and Mrs. Peacock's completely dumbfounded. This is the realization we're coming to.
The worst thing she's ever heard.
Yvette's like,
The
what?
politician's wife, who's probably done some shady business. Oh, we zooming in, folks.
Yes. So,
Well, Mrs. White back there has her jaw open.
they're Mrs. White and Mrs. Peacock the most.
Look at Yvette, though.
Yvette, no clue. As it continues, she continues to have no change in her facial expression, and then she does look confused.
She looks off to the side like socialism.
What is that? And then she blinks
It's her
a couple times.
damn face.
Wait a minute. She blinks a couple times and then looks at Mrs. Peacock, who's reacting strongly.
Yeah.
Well,
Boy, we used to just go minute by minute, folks. We are now going frame by frame.
Now, let me ask you this, because this minute, we're about to wrap, but this minute ends with Mrs. White going to Wadsworth and kind of appeasing him, right, by bringing him a tissue or handkerchief to wipe away his tears. Right now, we have...
Men should be like tissues or Kleenex.
Yes, soft,
strong, and disposable. Interesting.
But why do you think she has a reaction to this? Why do you think she feels the need to go comfort Wadsworth?
Yeah, she's crying with them. She's a sympathetic crier.
Now,
I think she's just a very emotional character. If you think about her performance in the whole movie, like later on where they're saying, no, there is, or no, there isn't, or she's a big screamer when she's fed up. She yells, please. She says earlier, well, one of us must have killed him, and throws her hat on the floor. Now he's crying. She's with him. And then, the flames that come later from the side of her face. I think she's just a ball of emotions. And that's probably what makes her Mrs. White.
Do you think that she's always this way, or does the emotions of the night draw this out of her? Extreme situation.
I would like to say, and I'm going to say it, and it's going to be the reason. I would say she's always like that.
Yeah.
And that's probably why she became a murderer. It was probably all emotional all the time. And then she can, once it's done, she can turn it off. Because she can be emotional enough to murder her husband, but be nonchalant enough to say he wasn't a very good illusionist.
Which is still a great line, by the way. It's
great. It's one of her best lines. He never reappeared.
Now, I have one more question for you that's really present on my mind because I'm looking at this freeze frame.
Yes. It's Wadsworth with his hand over his eye as he's crying for real.
It's the first time that I'm noticing an Englishman who's an American butler wearing... No, not the bust. I actually want to get to that. But he's an Englishman who's an American butler wearing a French cuff shirt. I see the cufflinks are there.
Wow.
Now, the way the collar is very distracting, but this is very exclusively butler, right? Where you have it almost popped all the way around with the back of the tie exposed, but just two little things coming down over the collar. The little tips of the collar just barely cover the tie. It's a very hard look to pull off. It's
true. Last December, I was an extra for an HBO show called Julia.
Whoa.
And I played a waiter in a fancy ballroom. And the costume was very similar to the collar. My memory serves was very similar to this. It was a regular bow tie. It wasn't a tie like that, but the collar was that way. And it took me a second to figure out how it worked because it is unique. But I think it's because of Clue, I realized, this is how it's supposed to work.
Wait a minute.
So look for me on Julia.
What is Julia about?
Julia Child.
Whoa.
We haven't had enough media about Julia Child. We've had a couple movies.
There's Julie versus Julia.
There's a season has already aired. It's an HBO show. Bebe Neuwirth of Cheers is on it. And Judith Light from Growing Pains. No. Yeah, Growing Pains. Growing Pains. The mom of Growing Pains is on it as well.
Alan Thicke.
She was in the scene that I was at. So I played a waiter. So you might see my arm.
How did you get this? How did you get this? How did this happen?
BostonCasting.com.
Oh, so they shot it in Boston.
Yeah.
I thought you may have been in LA or something.
That was here. They shoot a couple things here, and it's the extra life deserves a documentary of people that aren't in Hollywood that do the shows that film in certain areas like Boston, because there's a few shows that film out here, and I know I've only done that one, and I realized really quick that the people that do extra work do it for everything because they all knew each other. And that was kind of like their little group. It's like going to church on Sunday. They go, "Oh, were you in Boston Strangler last week?" "Yeah, it was freezing. I was out in the cold." "Yeah."
Now, do you prefer
and they
the term?
completely ignored me.
Do you prefer the term extra, background actor, or day player,
or atmosphere?
Or atmosphere? Yeah.
What
do you like?
I feel like I've only done it once, so I shouldn't.
This is your only extra appearance?
That was the only time I did it. It was just one day. It was fun. I would do it again. But you could tell I was new because I was watching the camera and I was watching the director. I was watching them all work, and all the other background actors. As soon as they were done, they're like, "Can we go into the other room and take a break and get on their phones?" And I wanted to hang out and watch them film.
Of course. Why wouldn't you? That's strange that
they've seen it.
They've been there, done that?
They were jaded extras. I haven't seen the Ricky Gervais show extras. I wonder how close it is to that.
I haven't seen that either.
He did a whole show.
Yeah. I will say I have not done anything for film as a background actor, but I have done work as a music video extra, I guess. I've been in a lot of music videos.
Did you dance?
No, I'm rhythmically challenged, but I normally play a cop in a lot of in a lot of music videos. I'm a cop or a detective.
A detective, very appropriate to have a Clue podcast.
Very appropriate. I was in get this, Kurt Cobain's music video, not Kurt Cobain, but Kurt Bangs with Z. Love to Trap. I was a detective in that one. Then you
were a detective in that?
I was a cop in Killa Callion's Killing Over Jays video.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You don't have to tell me that. I thought you looked familiar.
I had a small part recently, not as a cop, but as a newsman in a documentary called Memory Builds the Monument, which is currently streaming on BET Plus.
Okay.
I'm on that. It's a very quick reenactment of a real news clip that I filmed at 3:00 in the morning after a flight from Fort Lauderdale.
Nice.
And I had no voice at the time. It was very raspy, but it worked.
Do you think when people do reenactments of like when they play the murderers, do you think they ever accidentally get picked up or stopped, or at least people call because they watch them on a reenactment show and go, "I see the killer's here," but it was just the actor?
Maybe. You have to really do a serious rewatch of a reenactment to pick up on that.
Some people like those shows.
I like
Sometimes they show the reenactor person way more than the real person. They're always way better looking. Well, like on shows like Snapped, where they'll show the woman that like she's this crazy looking woman that was the murderer, and then they show the actress version and she's like very good looking
like
and
blonde bombshell. I will say, and this I'm so sorry, guys. We've gone off on this tangent, but this is the show. If you're 33 minutes
by
in
now,
with us,
we're on 33. You figured out the formula.
But I will say
there is no formula.
There's no formula.
No.
There was a show that used to come on some channel, I can't remember, called Breaking Vegas. Have you ever heard of this show?
That sounds very familiar.
Where they would talk about all the
it about people that cheated?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
And there was one they did on roulette, and the reenactment actor was so memorable. He actually ended up being a character in a wrestling show years later called Lucha Underground. And I'm like, where do I know this guy from? And so I look him up on IMDb and I'm scrolling through and I'm like, oh, Breaking Vegas. He was in Breaking Vegas. I remember this guy. So he really made an impression.
You can. If you're good, it doesn't matter what the part is. You will stand out.
There is no such thing as small parts, just small actors.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen.
And on that,
Brad Gilmore. Yep, that's our the more you know.
The more you know. Minute 33 of Clue the Movie podcast. I will say, if Wadsworth's wife really was, if this was all real, does he become the least guilty? Because he actually didn't do anything, and he had a wife who didn't do anything, and just had friends. It's still between him and
Yeah,
Mr.
she doesn't
Green.
even. She obviously had a lot of guilt
Right.
because she didn't. It doesn't say that she was a socialist. She just had some chums.
She had some friends.
I've got some jerk friends. I'm not gonna take one for them because of their stupid beliefs.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Although, if I were, I shouldn't be their friend then.
You probably need
Like
to.
I had to get rid of some friends over the last couple of years for different. It wasn't that was the reason, but there were other reasons.
Yeah, well, it's probably good.
I think some things bring out the worst in people,
Like social media and political
Yeah.
elections.
and elections and pandemics and documentaries about 80s cult hits. No, I gained friends for that. I didn't lose any friends for that.
Well, look, we started a whole thing.
Yeah, look at us. That's right.
Look at us now. This is minute
Yep.
33.
We're on our 33rd hour. I would,
Or
probably
33rd something.
close. Yeah, it's got to be close.
It's got to be close,
If
man.
you play them all back to back, it's got to be at least a day.
And if you include or before and after talks,
Oh my gosh. They don't know. They have no idea.
they don't know.
Well, it depends. Sometimes, like today, there was a lot, and sometimes you're like, "Hey, shut off the computer when we're done because I've got dinner waiting, or I've got a plane waiting, or I've got Christopher Lloyd or Jay Leno, or oh shoot, who's the Brian Johnson?
Oh, yes, Brian Johnson. From
I'm gonna go down
ACDC.
to my favorite people that you interviewed.
Yeah, those are good ones. Those are good ones, man. But you know what? I think, though, now
Good.
we're good on
Yeah.
minute 33 of
I think so,
Clue,
too.
the movie podcast.
We were good a while ago.
Jeff Smith, Brad Gilmore, cluedoc.com. Are the Blu-rays, can they get them still? Or there's a new shipment?
Somewhere maybe. I'll say the next episode when we'll be streaming because we
Whoa.
will be streaming.
And we know where?
And this episode should air before that happens.
Oh, wow.
So it will be I'll say next week.
Okay. Well, stay tuned. That's another tease from Jeff Smith. This
That's a
is
good tease.
minute 33 of Clue the Movie Podcast. We'll be back next week. Minute 34. See y'all.